Good morning everybody and welcome to a video that has no intro because today we are messing with my bricks. I have decided to jump into the world of LEGO lighting after much backwards and forwards of being on the edge of it for years, hopefully seeing some pictures of some of my past attempts because the brand has caught my eye, and specifically obviously the ability to get this stuff through Lego pieces is something that is much appreciated. So this is going to be my first tinkerings with LEGO Light My Bricks. This is an unsponsored video. I'm going to show you what I bought, talk about the pros and cons, and I'm going to put it into two builds today, both Zelda related. We're going to put it into Giga Clan Attacks, which is why this is my first trial piece here, this lantern. And we're also going to put it into the Master Sword pedestal from the official 77092 Great Deku Tree. And I specifically brought this for that. This is a blue pulse effect. And I'm going to show you them all in a minute. But I'm hoping that this very subtle pulse will look good reflecting on the sword. But as you can see, I've made a bit of a mess, which is making it actually quite hard to determine which light is which, and I'm just powering these off a battery pack. But let's turn this off for now so that I can talk to you more about all these components that I ordered. So, as is advertised all over the websites, they do anticipate that people new to lighting will find this quite confusing. So, hence why I started with a starter kit, which a lot of these parts came from. Now, I have jumbled them all up, so forgive me. But basically, your basic power network comes from this USB here, and they do have battery box options, but I have my own, so I'm not too worried about that. So you have a battery box, which following this cable comes into what they call a dock, which has all these different holes in it. Now, the battery boxes, or USB I should say, only really connect to one of the two end ones. And you'll notice that for some types of lights, I also have to use the end ones. So for example, these big strip lights, which are gonna be perfect for modulars. Another big reason I wanted to get into this is if I ever do, I have modulars, specifically stuff like the new botanical garden that I really wanna see lit up. These strip lights are perfectly great for that, although I do wish they came in colors like white. To attach these, you can only attach them to the same holes as the USB at either end, meaning that to string multiples of these together, you need extra docks, which I bought separately. The big dock that's over there came in the starter set. And then you can see that these obviously also have the two end holes. Let's bring this somewhere a bit more light. There we go. And again, these can be used to string things together or have USBs attached to them, which admittedly makes it a little difficult to run in series, I guess. And then they have these three holes in the middle, and this one over here has 6. And those holes are for all your other lights, which you can see over here. You get quite a lot. So I got 6 Astro lights, as they're called, which is basically just your normal always-on lights. The labels are not going to focus for me. There you go. These ones are in warm white and they're 30 centimeters long. And the great thing about going for the white colored ones is, as you saw with this lantern, if you put them through a colored Lego piece, they're actually going to glow, which I think is really, really cool. I also did dabble into effects, buying separately. So I did also buy some warm white 15s. Oh, the 30s, these are from the starter set. Sorry, I'm going to get confused a lot today. But the 15s, the shorter ones, are the ones I bought extras, and I got a couple of those because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I really wanted to sort of set myself up to have a tinker and a play, which is why we're doing this video. And then I bought 2 effect packs, both of which you saw in the sprue earlier, and when I'll show you more detailed, we have the light blue 30 long pulse. So that's a pulse effect that slowly, I thought it was going to go on and off, but it kind of gets brighter and dimmer. We'll try that in the pedestal later. And we also got the flicker. Now I was tempted to get this in orange because I really want to use it for fire, and we're going to try it out, well, 1 in the lantern, but 2, I want to try and light up the fire effects in Giga Clan Attacks. If you don't know, you'll see later, in orange, to make it look like they're flaming, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's my thinking now, and obviously that could be useful for any kind of light and modular. But really, it's these white ones that I wanted because I can put these behind any transparent, or to be honest, even solid colored stud, and have spotlights and such. I did pick up a couple of what they call Astro caps, which are basically, these attached to anti-studs upside down to sort of lock lights in case I need to do any inverse building. However, of course, the lights do fit within studs, which is the great thing, as again, you can see in my lamp setup, and I'll show you, and we'll install one as we go today. As for other stuff, of course, I'm a modular fan, so I had to get 1 set. I did want to get 2 of these, but not yet, of the floor pin connectors. This is one of the big things that actually drew me to get into lighting now instead of previously, because in the past I've used fairy lights and tea lights and and just sort of weave them wherever possible. But the idea that I can take my modular floor off, which was always sort of a pipe dream, if anyone remembers watching like the Jang Bricks lighting videos, there was a Kickstarter for this back like a decade ago and they never did anything with it, where it was like wireless, like 30 studs up. But this is just as functional. And as I said, the other big reason was the idea of hiding the wiring. I hate the idea of seeing the wiring. So the fact that these can go under tiles and then behind drain pipes and stuff, I think is going to be the challenge, but also what I'm here for. As far as other components, as I said, between these three and then the one here, I've got 4 of the meteor lights. This is mostly for my modulars. We won't really be using these today, although I may try and see if I can put one of them in the Clanatax building. We'll see how it goes. Mostly so I can try out these, which are their like connector bricks, so we can attach these to the ceiling. Now, I was a bit of a fool. I brought extra packs. I brought these 4 here, not realizing that when you buy docks, you get them with them, and when you get meteor lights, you also get them with them. So I didn't need to buy any of these because now I have way more than I do components, which I suppose is great. I won't buy any more of those in the future now that I know that, and all of mine are quite large, which is also suboptimal. We have this clip which came in the starter set, which I believe is like clip wires together to make them easier to manage. I won't be doing that. Hopefully I'm just going to be able to feed them and hide them in the model, but we're pretty much going to have to take the Clanatax and the Master Sword pedestal from the tree. We're not doing the whole tree, just the sword pedestal is actually in pieces. So we're basically going to try 2 installations where we're going to install one to a already built model, and we're going to install one as we go through and build the Master Sword pedestal. But so I want to have a tinker. Let's play around, and then we're going to sort of map out what we're actually going to do to put them into the buildings, which I keep pointing off camera because they're over to my right, but I'm not showing you that yet. So I'll be back once I've had a play. Right, you ready for chaos? I'm ready for chaos. Yeah, you can tell things are getting out of hand by looking at this. And guess what I've just realized? I forgot about the tree house. I forgot about Link's house. So like all of this stuff where I was planning to put a blue light in like the pool of water. Yep, nope, that's Navi. I might do her in plane. But you'll see by my diagram here, this was my first attempt. On the other side, I've got another one, which I'll show you in a minute. But like this is my attempt to sort of draw out like a diagram of where the lights are going to go. I haven't done much tinkering. I did set this up as is done in the official Light My Bricks Deku Tree kit, where we've got the bean lamp here. We've got 3 lights behind it, and it turns out that tiles don't go over them. You have to add another row of studs in between, which is a little bit of a shame. But let me see if we can light this up here. There we go. As you can see, it's incredibly bright. Obviously, I have the lights on, but like, look at the illumination on that. That is a true glow, which makes me think I'm going to use the white light for Navi and then just hope that the blue diffuses it rather than use like the deep blue that you guys saw earlier. But I'm pleased with that. Now, obviously the set only comes with 1, and I brought extra. So this is not the one from the official set. This is the same build as that. But I'm going to place 2 on my pedestal because, as I said, I'm just building a pedestal, which means that takes up 6 lights, which is oh, okay. Let's turn off. I guess my power bank's weird. Huh, it didn't do that earlier, so maybe it's like not drawing enough power to think that it's on or something, or I don't know. We'll figure that out later. We'll see if it's still a problem once everything else is installed. But looking at this, you can see that I'm planning to take the power to the 6 dock, and coming off the 6 dock, this X3 stands for the small astros that are in the bean light. And then I've got 2, we've got 3 more slots. One of them, because this is the one powering the Master Sword, needs to be the blue light that I want to have in the pedestal. And then we've got these 2, which I've put as long cable astros, which originally, this is before I remembered about the second bean light, and now, of course, Link's house, to be like green colored lights coming up and then sort of illuminating the trees. Yeah, don't think that's going to happen. Just logically, I'm just thinking I'm not going to have enough lights to do that, but I'll have a think and we'll figure it out. Then, of course, it comes over to 3 because that fills up that board. And then I've got to do all the houses, which was scaring me a little bit. So we've got the 2 flicker effects for the fire and then the lantern in one of the houses. And then I've also put an astro on here for the fireplace, or potentially to illuminate the rest of the 4th floor. I'm not really sure. Then I thought I might need one of my meteor lights to light up the buildings, which is actually what we're going to test next, because I'm kind of thinking the meteors might be too bright for these buildings and then they won't look kind of medieval. So we'll see. But anyway, then it's going to feed into the other house, which is also going to have 3, just 2 astros for the ground and the 1st floor, and then the 2nd blue for the fountain. But that uses up not all of my astros, but all of my dock holes. So I need to see if the meteors work to see if this is going to be possible, or else something else is not getting lit. And if I want a 2nd bean plant, I did have this other plan, which was here on the other side, which goes power to the 3 dock, which is the first beam. So 3 lights coming out of there to one of the beams, then 3rd dock again with the 2nd beams, and then just the whole 6 powering the pedestal blue light, what does it say? The fountain in blue light, and then the 2 flicker effects, all for the orange house, just hoping that my cable lengths are long enough to make this work, and good positioning of the dock, which we'll see. Again, we're gonna tinker around. We'll see what happens. We'll do the most important ones first. And then I have these 2 left over. Now I'm thinking, what if those 2 left over is then Navi and then a light inside the treehouse instead? Because this is already going to be by the pedestal. And then if you're wondering how I'm lighting up the rest of the buildings, this is my plan if the meteors work, because I can string these meteors together using the rest of my dock cables. So it means that these 2 docks can be dedicated to the beam plants and right by the pedestal. This dock can sit between the pedestal and the orange house of Yi-Clan attacks. This will all be so much clearer later. And then the meteors can just string together from building to building and hide. And hopefully we can just figure out a way to make it work. But who knows? Let's go play with some meteor lights and see if they actually work. Okay, so mission successful. We've got 2 options to show you guys. Oh, and it's just turned off. So I did work out this problem. I'll show you the solution in a second. But we've got light illuminating the 2nd floor of the building. That is currently just the 1 light. And I've just done it under here behind an astro cap to sort of just secure it in. And I really like that as a solution specifically. Oh, but you can see there that I have actually set up some meteors as well. So I'm going to change that over in a second and show you guys what that looks like. Because down on the floor, we've also tried this out. This was just while I had the Astros out, I thought I'd try it. This is a normal white that has gone through a green to sort of try like a grass illumination or green illumination filter. I like it, but if I have a choice between doing that and the treehouse, I will choose the treehouse. You can see that some wires are obviously longer than others, so my priority is to use these short wires on ones I know are going to be close to their docks. So for example, I use 3 of my 4 short wires on this. So my 4 short wires will go on the beam lamps if I can manage it. And then my longer ones can go the distance. You can see here, that one here is going all the way from over the front of the building, very haphazardly, up all the way into this roof section here. So that's a good one. But I'm going to just switch over the USB power now and show you the meteor lights, because I think you'll notice that the difference is not that extreme. So one last reminder, here it is on 1 astro, and here it is on 2 meteors. So you can see it's a little more brightly illuminated, but not to the point of lack of realism, and we could always try some diffusion tactics. You'll also notice as we go through this clip that it's going to stay on now, so it was just an amount of it not drawing enough power for this thing to actually recognize it as an electronical source. So once we have all the lights stringed up to this, it will probably be absolutely fine. And I should also say this was really easy to do. I did this in like less than 10 minutes probably. I mean, I'm a little cautious still with the lights. But if we turn it around, we see we've got good illumination here. We're using, you see, 1 here and 1 here. Ignore this wire because that's actually left over from the Astro Light setup because I wanted to do a direct comparison. And you'll see down here on the ground floor, you can't even see this one because it's actually hidden right underneath this beam, which was just an advantage of the design. Now this one, because of the Yi-Clan play features, which obviously are a priority to maintain, I had to just put it attached to this beam here. But that's fine, it does the job. I don't yet know if I'm actually going to light them up at conventions. That is the hope, but this is mostly for my own interest that I brought these, and obviously for modulars and stuff as well. So I do quite like how that looks. I'm happy with that as a compromise, especially I think if we just, oh, is my wire going to stretch? I don't think so. Oh. If I put it up against a wall and there's less backwards diffusion, I think that looks really great. Obviously, the Yi-Clan play feature is really kind of messing with this one, so maybe an Astro would be better if I can and have the space. But if we think about that diagram and Link's house, we don't have any space. So this is a good run of all the trials. I think what's next is to deal with the most complicated part first, which is the Master Sword pedestal. So if we get everything set up in that first, and then we can actually start working backwards into these buildings, because these are going to be sort of more frivolous with the lights, I think, because they're just buildings. It's a shame that we won't get to play with those floor connectors, because obviously the floors don't lift off this. But cool, useful experiment. Oh, and obviously we're in January. The new Blacktron Renegade just came out. the remake, and I'm thinking that's gonna be my next light project. I don't know if I'll do that here on the channel, but I can imagine those meteors coming down from the bottom like floodlights, and obviously being able to color them with all these translucent places. Ignore the minifigure heads, these are for, so hopefully for BAM. So I'm going on to the LEGO store to pick up the Renegade soon, so maybe I'll try some lights in there once I'm happy with this display. So I'm gonna be tinkering for like the next little while, but let's do what you've been waiting for and get that pedestal lit up. Well, whoopsie, I was supposed to film that process and I didn't. And the reason was, honestly, I just kind of got stuck with all the wires. As you can imagine, it's quite messy, quite challenging, and I'm so glad I did that blueprint because it was quite difficult. Now, we can still talk about the two differences. So obviously here we have the Link stuff here, and then we have Yi Clan attacks. And I definitely prefer how the official sets look, partially because I nicked a little bit of the instructions they used in the lighting manuals. I mean, it is still my design, like those green lights down there are mine. There isn't obviously a beam plant here in the original, and of course the pulsing blue effect is what they had in the original, but it's what I would have wanted to have done if I'd bought the original too. And Link's treehouse, I'm pretty sure, is the same, purely just because obviously you would have a light on the inside, makes common sense, and then of course Navi. Navi's my least favorite light here. She's even worse on camera than she is in real life, but she's still pretty bad in real life. That trans opalescent blue that they use for her in the official set just do not diffuse the light enough to make it not look like a blinding light, like lighthouse searchlight. But yeah, it's whatever. But one thing I do think is really cool is you can barely see the wires. I mean, Navi's, again, one of the worst examples, but like, do you see any wires coming down? And it's not just the fact that they're at the back, because here you can see my sort of messy attempt to like bring the buildings together. And this is, to be honest, my fault, because it wouldn't even be a problem if obviously all the builds were on a base plate and connected together, because you could hide them under tiling. But because of the way that they're all separate, you of course have the wires linking them together. But like, look at Master Pedestal, obviously there's none for that. You cannot see barely any wire for the green ones in there. And then the only wire here is at the sort of around the trunk, and then even that disappears into the ground, because all of these wires are sort of buried in between the tile layer, and then as you can see, come out of either side. Now, this was the big difference for me. I built these guys from scratch, adding in wires as I went, and these were already fully built, and I add wires in afterwards. Oh, of course, this building sets on fire and still has a nice flicker effect. That's so cool. And this lamp also has a flicker too. Nice. Was there any difference? Honestly, not really. Specifically, Link's treehouse is the worst example, because if I wanted to feed the wire up to the ceiling through the build, right, I can't just feed the wire through the base at the start and then continue to drag it through, because you can't really like drag more through. So if I didn't pull the right amount through the base tile, I wouldn't have enough to reach the top. And because I didn't know how much I needed to reach the top, it would have made different. Now I imagine in a pre-built set, if you're building a set from scratch and adding the lights, they tell you how much to drag through, which would be really, really helpful. But that is not the case here. So I basically ended up building it sort of like backwards or half built. So I built up this right-hand wall here and this plate here so that I could see, oh, I need this much height. And I built the ceiling, and I didn't build any of these panels here at all until I'd measured it. And then I started filling it in and doing it, which is basically, to be honest, the same as building it first, then just taking parts apart to thread it through. And then maybe, I suppose the difference is, oh, sorry, Zelda. Oh, and now Link's gone. Is that I was able to thread them better, because when I did that with these two models here, so these were already fully built, and I went to add the lights, yeah, I took apart sections of wall, but I was certainly not as, that was the word, careful with the wiring. And as you can see, we've got this big lump here, which is, if I was building it from scratch, we'd probably be able to hide this in a significantly better way, and instead we've got it here. But to be honest, it's not too shabby. I mean, I could have put this in a better spot, but I was trying to be careful with the wires, so that's not. But you can't even see this one down here. I just love that. Link, get out the way. I love that. That's so cool. And if you missed it in a community post, have a look at that up there. That is a new sticker that we added. This is the one that was used in the original version of the set in Yi Clan Attacks. That is the fish pie recipe, all Legoized. And in here, I believe we have some Lon Lon milk as well. Ooh. Ooh, why are we doing this live? There you go. Really hard to see. But yeah, Lon Lon milk stickers too. Anyway, looks absolutely awesome. So glad the interiors are lit up. Was a complete different experience doing them from both of them. We talked about the wiring, so really it made no difference. This is 100% my favorite. I love the sword pedestal and how this works out. And I think it's because it's official. I specifically love, and if we just focus on that sword, it's gonna bug me now. It does have a small pulse effect going on it. Let's see if we can catch it. Yeah, there you see that blue glow. And of course I've added all my extra Koroks and stuff around. That looks simply wonderful. Let's turn the lights out fully now and just experience that ambience before we wrap up. And it doesn't look very different, does it? Because it's emitting so much light. Just look at that color effect there. That's going to be wonderful if I just sit down a minute. What a cool display. Now, obviously this shelf is really not set up for it. It doesn't have good height. Like, if you imagine this was, what, over there, then I think it would look a lot cooler. I'm pretty happy with this as a first attempt. I want to try it in the Renegade, I think. And I want to try some other customs for my next show, because I can't really light up Yi Clan attacks. I mean, I'd love to, but it's going to be kind of difficult to light up Yi Clan attacks in a way that allows me to still rotate the buildings and show people the interiors easily without risking damaging the lights, which is obviously a concern, at least for conventions for now. And obviously none of the UK conventions actually have light modes, so it's not really like a good idea yet. So for next conventions, I'm thinking we'll light up something static. Maybe we'll have some spotlights shining up on Link, or maybe we'll do Colgera's bellies. We have got one in this chimney here, which I think is also pretty cool. But this is just for me. I'm going to enjoy these now. We're going to try it in the Renegade, we'll try it in some convention builds, and then in the summer, I will try it in some modulars. I'm specifically thinking of Botanical Gardens, which obviously isn't modular. But we'll start with that one, and then we'll try it in, it's got to be Parisian, right? Like my favorite, and that will use our other components. But yeah, this has been rambly long, a bit like my experience with the lights. Overall, I'm satisfied. I think they're high quality for the price you pay for them. I do wish they were cheaper, obviously, because when you see that kind of bubble mailer that I had arrive, and that was like 100 quid, so over $100, doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great, admittedly. But the quality is here. Hopefully they last, and I don't have to make a follow-up video saying that I'm disappointed that the lights didn't suit my needs and they didn't last long enough to be worth the 100. I do love how this looks. Lighting has been something I wanted to play with for a long time, and this does feel like the ultimate way to do it. However, I do worry that with the way I sort of interact with the LEGO hobby, at least at this stage, where I don't tend to leave things permanently built forever because I don't have the space and I like to rotate my displays, and building is half the fun for me. I wonder if this lights will be more of a hindrance than a help, but it is what it is. It will be a nice experiment, and they're a nice resource to have. They work exactly how I wanted them to. The colors are great, and I think with a bit of practice and skill, we can really turn this into something special. And I do have to love that. That does look fantastic. But yeah, the process itself, of course, was a challenge, but a fun challenge. Nothing hugely impossible. I think anyone can do it, even a beginner. I just advise you to be careful, take your time, make a diagram like I did, understand what your components do and how to manipulate them through bricks. Watch some YouTube videos. I guess I could do one which actually goes through the process properly. But yeah, in the end, I just kind of got sucked into the rhythm and the build and just worked out on my own little puzzle, which is why we didn't really document it. But that's going to do it for today. Let me know your experience with LEGO lighting and whether you think this in particular looks fantastic. I think it does here. I really like that. And I will see you again very soon with some of our more normal content. But I thought we'd give this a go, see how it turned out. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.